I was really excited when Dr. Shankaran came over to explain something about this project, which I think is a really brilliant project. I predict great success for it. Just to go back and tell a little story, my first experience of Chennai was 5 years ago. I had an opportunity to travel with our then Assistant Secretary for Consular Affairs. And we visited India, went to Delhi, Mumbai, and Chennai. We're about 2 days in each place. And it was one of those trips where you're constantly in motion. You have a series of meetings, and it kind of blurs in memory a lot of the details of those trips. But there is one memory I have from my first visit to Chennai that remains very distinct and made such an impression on me. And this was at one of the hotels, and I don't even know which one it was, but it was a large room, more people than there are here today. It was a packed auditorium, and this was organized by the consulate for students who were interested in studying in the States and some of their parents. And we had one of the vice consuls was roaming up and down the aisles with a microphone to take questions, and I was sitting up on in front with my boss, the assistant secretary, and the idea was to provide some outreach and talk a little bit about student visas and opportunities to study in America. And the single strongest part of that impression was how very intent and attentive and interested those students and their parents were. It was probably the best audience I've ever seen. And since arriving in Chennai in August of last year, I've had various sort of deja vu experiences of that, talking with various student groups, visiting the universities here, and I've really come to understand that education is a huge thing here in India. I think especially in this part of India. I am not sure what all of the historical, cultural reasons for it are. I know this has always been a place with a strong value on education. I know that the demographics are such that there have been smaller families over the last 2 or 3 decades, and parents have been able to invest more and to provide their children support for higher and higher levels of education. And it is phenomenal to see the growth in the numbers of institutions, and which is driven by a growth in demand for education. We at the U.S. consulate here in Chennai, we have seen year-over-year growth in the exceeding 20%, closer to 30% from year to year over the last 3 or 4 years for applications for visas to study in America. And that has been paralleled by our other posts in India. As a result, in the United States, there are now approximately 94,000 students from India, which is the largest cohort from any country studying in the United States. And although there's been some softening of the demand recently, we expect it to continue to grow over time. We have always placed a high priority on serving those students. We put them at the head of the line, and even in the times, some of you here in Chennai remember a year or two back, there was a very long wait time to get an appointment for a U.S. visa, but we always put the students at the front of the line, and they didn't have to wait that long period, because we've always thought that students are, if we have a chance to facilitate a student's education, that's the most important thing we can do. We put that ahead of tourism, even family visits. But even if we continue at the U.S. consulate at that kind of rate, 94,000 students in all fields, that really does not come close to meeting the demand that Dr. Shankaran was outlining. 300,000 for management education, business education alone. And I think it's important to recognize that not everyone is able to meet the airfares and other expenses of going abroad to study. And I think there's also a very interesting phenomenon of people coming to India from the States and other places, many of Indian origin, but also increasingly Americans of all backgrounds coming to India. And it's something that I personally very much want to promote. I've met with several groups of American students that have come for a semester abroad in India. I think it's a marvelous place to do that. The institutions are so good, and the fellow students are such good role models for our students in terms of study habits and so on. And it's such a warm, hospitable place. And I think there are really great benefits from those kinds of exchanges, international study, international visit in both directions. Specifically with regard to business education, I think the United States has a very strong model, very strong tradition of MBA education that based on the case study method and other state-of-the-art techniques, I think that it is something very beneficial to bring that approach to education here to India, as our colleagues in Georgia have done also in other places very successfully. So I think that we will see a lot of demand. I don't think it's unrealistic to project rapid growth. And really it's so beneficial for students, for the growing interconnectedness of the world, for the relationship between the United States and India. And I would say there is no more important project, no more important area of endeavor than education. And so, in fact, it's even amid the economic downturn in the States, I saw that one of the two areas in which jobs are continuing to be created, net job creation, is in education as well as healthcare. So I do think there will be every success in this endeavor, and I want to congratulate the founders and wish you the best of luck in this new project. Thank you.